Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hart Beat Show podcast. My name is Tim Hart, branch manager of VanDyk Mortgage here in Fort Myers. Appreciate you being with us today. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a huge comedy fan out there, and we have a very popular comedy club here in Southwest Florida. Honored to have the owner and founder of Off the Hook Comedy Club, Captain Brien Spina. Captain, how you doing, sir?
Good, buddy. Thanks. I'm honored to be on. I think it's great. I love doing podcasts. I appreciate you having me on the show, and maybe we can talk about some good stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And you, we going to go Captain or go Brien? What do you want me to go with?
Usually it's Captain. I'm a U.S. Coast Guard licensed captain, so it's okay.
All right, you earned it then. There we go. I'll go Captain. I like Captain. And you have your own podcast, right?
I do. It's called the Captain's Vlog. Yeah, we do it at least like 3 days a week, but more like 5 days a week most of the time. You can find it any other places that you get your podcast. It's called the Captain's Vlog with me, Brien Spina. Cool, man.
Do you do like 3 to 5 a week? Oh my gosh.
I do.
Wow, that's pumping out content. Good job. So Captain, why I saw one of your videos come across. I'm a huge comedy fan. So much respect for the comedian, you know, that stands in front of that crowd and is there to make them laugh, you know, and that's his or her job. And so I'm pumped, man, to talk to you, dude. So like, I may start firing some odd questions out there as a comedy fan, but
dude, nothing's odd in the comedy world. I'll tell you right now, from the comedians to the business itself, there's nothing's gonna shock me. I've seen it all after 14, almost 15 years. So
15 years. All right. Well, let's start with let's learn about Off the Hook Comedy Club and Captain Brien. Fill us in on your journey from Coast Guard captain to Off the Hook Comedy Club owner.
Well, it was started by myself, and my dad was my partner, and he still is. And we now are in Naples, Florida, but the journey started in Marco Island in 2001. I started Captain Brien's Seafood and Roast Beef, a little takeout, casual roast beef and New England style seafood restaurant. Then we expanded because it got really busy. Fortunately, we did expand to a restaurant in Marco Island that we built called Captain Brien's Seafood and Raw Bar. And then it was a little big when we were building it. We're like, wow, we went from 60 seats to 200 seats. We better try to do something late at night to get people in the place. And I just came up with the idea to do comedy. And that, for a while, was a little bit of a fight and struggle with my parents because it wasn't really successful when we first started. And people weren't used to, driving to Marco Island from Naples and Fort Myers for events. So it took me a minute to figure out how to get people to do that. And then also we weren't able to get the big acts until really, I guess Pauly was the first one that really got behind it and said that, this was the place to go. You guys should check it out. If you haven't been to Southwest Florida, you go down, he's on the West Coast, and, they have this place called the Comedy Mansion that they put the comedians up in, and they have jet skis, and it's on, you can go out on the dock and fish. And so, like, he really blew it up, and the other comics just started calling. And that's really what it turned out to be, is that eventually the comics were calling me, and they just thought it was a cool place to come and perform because they can perform anywhere. I mean, you want to go to Ohio in the winter, and you want to go to Marco Island in the winter.
No doubt. Right. Well, so with that though, then when did you transition from Marco Island to Naples?
That was in 2013, and then that's when we opened up the club in Naples. And what basically happened was I already knew that comedy was really getting very popular in pop culture, and I figured, well, eventually someone's going to think that they can open up a club and compete with me in Naples or Fort Myers. So I wanted to make sure that we were still going to be the premier club. Let's face it. I mean, you drive 45 minutes to see an act, or you're going to see an act 10 minutes away. If they opened up a big enough club and were able to, spend enough money and book the acts, then it would have been it would have been a problem. So I wanted to basically beat the bullet and take care of that ahead of time. Can you see me? Sorry.
Yeah, I got you. Someone's probably texting you or something.
Yeah, I just got a call. Sorry.
Yeah, I got you. You're back.
Cool. So I just wanted to stay ahead of the curve, you know, and figured I better move to Naples where everybody is. Traditionally, you know, you have a city and then your comedy club is just a few minutes away. I was very different. Not only were we like a seafood shack that was doing great comedy, we were also like 45 minutes away from Naples and, you know, over an hour plus from Fort Myers where everybody was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, you know, that was always like, oh man, it's harder for us to get people to come down and see us, where other clubs, you know, they basically put the sign up that they have so-and-so performing and the place is packed, you know, like Nashville and Chicago at the Improv and, you know, Columbus Funny Bone. These guys are like selling out mad shows with very little marketing just because of the demographic and the people. And we had, you know, a very different demographic. So it took me a minute to figure it out and what shows they were going to like, and then needed to move closer to the people. We were real busy on Marco Island, always busy. But I knew, like I said, that was always a fear that someone was going to do something similar, you know, closer to the people, and that would have made it hard for us. So I just did it ahead of time. We bit the bullet, and that was it. We moved.
Is it worked out for you, that move?
Oh, it's really busy. The club's phenomenal. I mean, we were sold out last night, Tuesday night. Ryan Miller from America's Got Talent. I mean, it's busy. We do shows Wednesday now through Sunday. We bring in anywhere from 2 to 4 headliners a week. The shows vary, you know, in price from $20 to $50, depending on who we have. And we even do special engagements like last night on Tuesdays. There's even Monday shows. So, you know, the club stays really busy.
Gotcha. So let's get into the comedy part of it. Or have you always been a fan of comedy? It sounded like you were twisting your dad's arm to get into comedy. Was that something?
Not at all. I knew nothing.
Oh, really?
I literally couldn't have named 5 touring comedians when I got in the business. I just liked comedy because I grew up in Boston and we had a big comedy, you know, there was really a big comedy feel there and vibe, and everybody was into the comedy scene. So I probably went to 5 shows my life, and I said, we need to do a comedy club. It was a niche. I mean, there wasn't a comedy club in the area. Nobody was doing comedy. Everybody had a guitar solo act, and they didn't charge a cover charge. This was, you know, 15 years ago. So a lot has changed. I mean, look at the overall, you know, both counties, Lee and Collier, they're different, very much so.
Mm-hmm. Well, how much I'd be curious, like what's changed with the comedian themselves from when you first started to now? Like you obviously have been dealing with comedians for the entire time, right?
Huge difference. I mean, we're seeing right now the biggest change probably in comedy history, I would say, because of Instagram and social media.
Right.
And YouTube. I mean, there was no such thing as a YouTube famous comic 15 years ago. There wasn't any such thing as, you know, someone who's got a huge Instagram following that they were worth booking. Never. And today, you know, it makes up a serious percentage of ticket sales and your business. I mean, if you're not doing those acts, then you're not relevant. Like, the funny thing is the guys that were relevant, that were the big stars, that decided they were too good to put their comedy on the gram or on YouTube. Yeah. They're literally irrelevant. Like, huge stars are not even in the forefront of comedy anymore. Just 9 years later. Because
they ignored social?
Because they didn't hit the social. They thought that, you know, they want to burn my jokes. Well, people want to hear the hits. Like, you know, you want to hear Stairway to Heaven, right? Like, that's it. You want to go to a show and that's what you want to hear. So same thing with comedy. Like, you know, you got a joke that hits virally on social media, you have a whole new fan base.
That's funny because, like, I never really thought about that. They're worried about giving up their material, right? And, like, in reality, it's helping them.
Of course. I mean, I'm a huge fan. It's one of the businesses I have now. I do viral video content online. I monetize videos, and it's one of my main businesses.
And that's from clips from your shows?
No, I run 26 high profile celebrity comedians and social media influencers across the world that range anywhere from 1 million to 15 million followers. And we take the content that they provide, format it, and we sell the content across other networks on the web.
Damn, you're a busy dude, man.
Yeah.
You have kids?
I do. I have 2 kids, 2 amazing kids. I have a daughter who's 12, and I have a son who's 14. My son now works at the club, which is really exciting for me.
Oh, well, yeah, I saw you guys cooking a steak the other day. That's right.
Yeah, that's them.
All right, got you. So then you've seen a lot of changes. That's pretty neat with the social media aspect of it with comedians. I'm curious, so like when you've seen comedians come in and out, what makes the comedians, I guess the obvious answer is going to be, well, they're funny. What makes them successful? But like, what's a common trait you see with comedians that are successful? How about that?
What's the common trait? They work hard. Very few of them. It's interesting because you think that they all work hard. That's not, of course, at all. They work 45 minutes a day, and that's all they do. They think that that's how they're going to be hit it big time. There's other comics that literally, I'll tell you right now, Pauly Shore, why he's relevant. I mean, this dude works 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 a.m., literally 7 days a week. I mean, I just saw the other day, he's now has like a 6-camera shoot at his house now, and he does Pauly Shore's rants or something live, and it's a podcast, and it's like a live video show on the web. I mean, he's creating, like, it's amazing. I mean, he's one of the first guys doing it, you know? It's amazing. He never stops.
So hard work.
I don't bring him up, I don't keep bringing him up, but I'm just saying, like, out of all the guys, he's been relevant for 30 years.
Right.
That's huge. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah. So, I mean, hard work. And then how about the ones that go up and just flop? Like what causes?
Well, we're not really, a funny story. One of the most famous touring comedians on the road right now is Tom Segura. He flopped. Like, I'll put it to you this way. It was one of the worst shows we ever had. He just had a bad day. But out of everybody that we book, that was 5 years ago. I didn't think he was ever going to do comedy again. Today, he's one of the top 10, biggest grossing comedians on tour. Like, literally, he's not even going to play the club for years because he's selling out major, theaters and in venues that hold 5,000 plus seats. So you just never know. He's got a great podcast with Christina, his wife. On the other hand, we don't do a lot of comedians that are like not tried and tested. Like, if the guy's up and coming and relevant and cool, like, we'll book him, but he's got to be funny. Mm-hmm. Most of it, that's just the name of the game. Like, we're not testing out like comics that are, just starting out. Like, we don't have a lot of people bombing unless it's an open mic.
Do you still do open mics and stuff?
We do. I have one tonight that's virtually sold out. There's over 225 people coming tonight. It's called Stand Up, Drag Down. And it's hosted by a drag queen. And the comedians get up. They get 5 to 8 minutes. If they do, this is a show I created, by the way. If they don't make it to 5 to 8 minutes, then the drag queen comes up, pulls them down, hits music, and they pull up in a drag queen. They do a dance in a show instead. And then the next performer comes up. So that's how if you stand up, you get to stay up there. If you drag down, you drag down by a drag queen.
Oh, man. How does anyone apply for that? We need to get a few listeners.
Go to the website, offthehookcomedy.com. You can sign up to be a performer. I believe the spaces are all taken at this point. There's 15 performers, and then the drag queens are paid, professional drag queens. Right, but you do this like once a month, or is it just whenever? This is the first show, and it's blown up. I mean, it's got a huge response on social media. Literally probably has like 600 likes on social media just on the one post.
Oh, very cool.
So that's good. But this is something I just created. I personally want to do it monthly. And if we can do it, we'll do it every Wednesday night.
Gotcha.
It's great. People love that kind of stuff right now.
So, like, we mentioned the Tom Segura flopping, and he is a huge name.
Dude, superstar. Amazing. I'd beg to have him.
Well, Tom, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're one of the 9 people, call Captain Brien. So I'm curious, like, how do how do some of those comedians, when you see him like he's having that bad day, right? Like, how do they just try to work through it? Like, while do they acknowledge like they're flopping, like, or bombing right there?
I mean, honestly, most of the time it's live. Look, I mean, anything could happen. You can have a crowd that just somebody's annoying you the whole time and you can't concentrate or whatever. There's I'm sure a various number of personal reasons why you can flop or have a bad show or whatever, but I've seen the comic do the exact same set multiple times. I've seen this scenario because they mostly do 4 to 6 shows for the week. So you see all the shows, sometimes word for word, flat, nothing. And you think they're bombing. The next show, or you already saw them crush, but they did the same delivery, same act, and it just fell flat on that audience. Everything's subjective. I mean, how many movies have you seen win Oscars and literally like that movie was horrible?
Yeah.
But somebody sees it as, one of the best ever.
Yeah. You and I could watch the same show and you'll be rolling on the floor, laughing, and I'll just be staring blankly at it. Like,
right. And that happens a lot. So if you have a larger population in the room that they don't get the jokes or they just are not relevant to them, it could fall flat.
What's the best way comedians should handle hecklers?
Just tell them to shut up. I hate when they get involved in hecklers. Like, I love when the guys say, like, look, this is a one-man show. I didn't bring you along. I already know what I'm doing. Like, I don't need your help to make this funny.
Right. Do you guys ever have to do you have someone there like has to step in?
All the time. I bet a couple times a week. People just tend to act a different way. It's like you go to a movie theater, there's always somebody that's going to talk the whole theater. It's just, but we don't really put up with it because we can't. Good. If we let them do that all show, and throughout the performances, the performer gets pissed. And the last thing we want is a performer mad to come to the club. We want them happy and to put on a great show. Yeah,
we were on a cruise last year, and we went to a comedy act, and man, there was these people that sat right in the front row, and you could tell they went there just to.
It's going to be all about them. The show's not about them. The show is about the comic that the people came to see. Nobody needs a heckler. I mean, honestly, it never makes the show better. It's not in the history ever of comedy done something great.
If you're watching this and you want to heckle, don't. Just shut up.
Yeah.
Right. Who are your favorites that you've had go through? Who's some of your all-time favorites that you've enjoyed?
Man, I've had so many acts that you can't stop laughing. But some guys you're gonna love. Jim Jeffries, who's Comedian of the Year this year at the Just for Laughs Festival. I mean, he's gigantic. He's got his own show on Comedy Central, the Jim Jeffries Show. Absolutely hysterical. Did I think the second show ever in the U.S. at our club at Marco Island, and there was 17 people in the audience on a Wednesday night. He was unknown. This is how the club works. I mean, 17 people for Jim Jeffries. He sells 5,000 seats a night right now. And he took everybody out in the audience outside to the courtyard to smoke a cigarette during the show. He made everyone get up and have a cigarette with him outside. I mean, he's so funny. It's ridiculous. And it's just funny for me to say, and I don't even think we sold 17 tickets. I'm telling you, we probably sold 5 tickets for that show, and I gave away 30, and only 12 people showed up. People in the audience.
Oh, geez. Did he keep that going?
He sells out. Today, you can't get a ticket for him. I mean, look, he's got a second season of his own talk show on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Did
he keep the act going outside while he was smoking?
Absolutely.
That's hilarious.
His act is, the guy is so outrageous and so funny. He makes an act out of anything he does. He's so good. I like Eric Myers, an act that you've never even probably heard of. He's got a couple video clips that have a couple million plus views. He's gone viral a few times with those. Absolutely hysterical. Genius writer. Genius. One of my favorites. We have him at the club 4 or 5 times a year, either one-nighters or he even opens sometimes when he does those. He'll headline on a Wednesday or a Thursday and then open the rest of the week. But he's so funny. Headliners hate it. They hate, him opening the show because he's so good.
Oh yeah, he shows him up almost, huh? Or
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, every time. And
oh,
every
wow.
time it's like, damn, you got to put this guy in front of me? Really? Like, major headliners. And I'm like, dude, he's a local. Like, he's out of Orlando. What do you want me to tell you? But I know he's a crusher.
Right. What's some of the craziest stories you've had come out of owning the club? Like you got anything that stands out? Like
I mean, there's a lot
that you can tell on the
I try to not, look, we're in business with comedians. That's what we do. So I'm not in a position where I want to bash a bunch of comedians. We've had crazy stuff, outrageously, things that probably, if this is a censored podcast, we're not even going to be able to talk about. It gets crazy.
But
it's show business, man. I mean, telling you, people don't understand that we're in entertainment. This is Hollywood. Like, even though we're in Naples, Florida, we deal with the top executives and the Paramount Pictures and you name it, CAA and UTA and William Morris. I mean, these are the world's best agents and agencies, and that's who we talk to. And they book Tom Cruise and they're booking, comedy. It's like, it's crazy. Used to be like 30, 40 agencies. Now there's like 6.
Huh. I didn't know it was that little.
Yeah, 6. I mean, there might be, overall, there's 6 majors, but there's a lot of different, what do I want to say? Kind of like unique agencies that handle specific things.
Uh-huh.
But for the most part, like the major agencies, the ICM, CAA, UTA, William Morris, I mean, those guys run Hollywood, man.
So then what would be some of the dealing with that atmosphere, the customers coming in, the comedians, the booking agents, what are some of the things that you've learned, that you've taken away from this time?
One thing I can tell you is that just because they're funny on stage does not mean that they're funny people. Honestly, I mean, I've interviewed hundreds of comedians on my podcast, and some of them are just terrible on the podcast. They're terrible. They have nothing other than jokes. Like, they're great writers and they can deliver great jokes, but they're different. You'll notice that comedians are different people, and in general, as a breed, very different than somebody who might be your best friend for the most part.
Is it true that a lot of them end up being kind of introverted?
A lot of them are.
Okay.
I would say 50% of them are. The other 50% are not. They are the class clown. And out of that 50%, probably 20 to 30% of them are funny in general.
Gotcha.
The rest of them are just like amazing performers.
What about someone that's an aspiring comedian out there that's watching this, that maybe, younger person or, middle age, whatever, they may want to get into comedy? What would you recommend to them?
They need to get on stage every day, every open mic, go to every show. I mean, one thing I always ask is, how'd you get into comedy on my podcast? Every one of them will tell you that they started at an open mic. I mean, nobody walks on stage, in a show like a comedy club. They're going to pay you to walk on stage. You got to be on an open mic. You got to test out your jokes. You could be funny at the office, but I guarantee you're not going to be funny on stage when you get up there. It takes a lot of work, man. It takes a lot. It's a real art. It really is.
I think that's the one thing that people lose, and I don't think a lot of people appreciate enough the art of these people doing their jokes.
Well, I mean, it's super mainstream now. Let's be honest, like with Netflix and HBO and Showtime, and I mean, Comedy Central started it, but they're not at the top anymore. I mean, Netflix is the best. You get a Netflix special, you're at the top of your game. But I mean, I think that in this day and age, like from where I've seen comedy go, people definitely realize it's an art. Like it may not be a high art, you're not talking about Picasso, but without a doubt, I mean, it's the last place where you get freedom of speech,
Yeah, that's a good point. But you're even you say that though, like wasn't that Kevin Hart just recently with that tweet, where couldn't be a host of some show because of a
he was. I think it was the Grammys he was supposed to host or something.
And it was like a tweet from like 8 years ago or something.
Yeah. That's crazy, but you know, it is what it is. It's just people got to be PC with certain stuff. But I mean, Kevin's amazing. I had Kevin at the club. That's funny. He didn't sell out every show. You know, I had Kevin at the club. He had 11 writers. I had him Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think he had 11 writers in the audience because that Sunday night he hosted the MTV Music Awards. And people in our area back then didn't even know how crazy it was that we had Kevin Hart. He sold out all the shows, but I think maybe the Thursday show. But still, there should have been a line. There should have been 300 people at the door waiting for when he possibly walked out just to say hi to him. Never mind buying a ticket.
When was that?
God, that was maybe 6 years ago now.
Okay.
I mean, he was a superstar.
Right.
But in Naples, we're a little behind. You know, that's where I started with, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to advertise when you have Kevin Hart on the marquee. But back then, it wasn't even, you know, like I still had to sell the sizzle that it was Kevin Hart performing.
Right. But it's gotten easier for you though, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, now it definitely has gotten easier. But we're not where the Chicago guys are, you know, where literally they put a poster on the front door and it's sell out shows for big names.
What's your long-term goal with Off the Hook? What's the long-term plan for you?
I mean, for us right now, maybe just 7 days a week. I mean, we're doing anywhere from 10 to 14 shows a week. I could see us doing 20 shows a week at some point. We do have a lot of downtime. I mean, the place, you know, we do private events a lot. We do luncheons and things, but we don't open the doors to the public till 4 o'clock, Tuesday through Sunday. So there's still a lot of growth here locally. I also see us doing way more viral videos. We have a production company now that's recording some of the shows where we get permission and we post those. But there's so much, you know, that we could do.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, that stuff, there's so many things you could do. It just becomes overwhelming where you can freeze up and do none of them almost.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not that guy. I say I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm doing it. Like, I go overboard. I start it too quick.
Nothing wrong with that. Hey, what are those bottles back there? What do you got going on there?
That's my vodka.
Okay.
Right here. And then I'm growing some good luck plants in them.
Okay.
Look, these are good luck. But this is my Captain Brien's vodka. It's sugar-free, gluten-free, organic. All right. Here in Florida. And this is my dark rum. But yeah, those are just hanging out in my kitchen counter. But those obviously don't have any liquor in them. They have plants, but we sell it in about 100 stores in Florida, between bars and locations. And, you know, you can get it at CaptainBrien.com, and that's CaptainBrien.com. But you can follow me on the gram or just Google Captain Brien. You'll see. You can find my podcast. You can find the liquor, the comedy club, everything. Yeah,
we'll put links to all your stuff in the notes as well, so people can see it. Oh, Captain Brien, dude, I appreciate it, man. You got anything else you want to mention?
Oh, I love it. I love being on the show. I appreciate it. They can follow me at CaptBrien on Facebook and Instagram, and I hope I get to share the content too. It'd be great.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll get it over to you. So again, Captain Brien, I appreciate being with us. We're kind of getting up on the time here. And you guys, again, Captain Brien, Off the Hook Comedy Club, that's a local business, and you're seeing some amazing comedians go through there. Make sure you check him out down in Naples. We'll put all their information in there for you guys. Captain Brien, thanks again, buddy. Appreciate you.
I so appreciate you. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
Oh, my pleasure. And you guys, if you need anything from me, please don't hesitate to call. Always happy to help. 239-437-4278. And connect with us on social media, just like you're going to do with Captain Brien, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that fun stuff. So until next time, guys, thanks a lot. Take care. Have a good day. See you, Brien.
See ya.